Well, folks, it's official. We are halfway done with the trading year. What's the saying? Time flies when you're having fun in the world's largest casino. Whenever we get to important milestones such as this, I like to do a breakdown of what's been going on, and the reason I do that is I want to see if I can identify a pattern of what's been going well so I can double down on that, and identify the pattern of what's not going so well so ideally I could leave it in the past. As I was completing my monthly, quarterly, and first half of the year review, it hit me how crazy it is that I've been in this game with all of you degenerates for over a decade. It's also pretty crazy is that I'm embarrassed to admit how long it took me to have any semblance of consistent profitability. Folks, it took me a while. I feel when I hear all these stories and I see these videos and I see what people are writing on the internet, that it's always a story of like, oh, my first 1, 2, 3 years were tough, and then all of a sudden the light flipped on and I started making all this money. At least that's how it seems on the internet. To be completely honest, to be completely transparent, my story was wildly different. It took me double that time, and I felt like I kept hitting my head against the wall before I had any chance of consistently making money, and that brings me to what I want to really get into in this video. Over the past decade, I've tried it all. Penny stocks, options, futures, forex, crypto, scalp trading, day trading, swing trading, investing. I've done it all, and at first it lost me a lot of money. And then eventually, even though it took me longer than I'd like to admit, the light bulb went on when I started to approach this with a slightly different mindset, really the mindset of a scientist. So in this video, I'll be breaking down the only 3 things you need, count them up, 1, 2, 3, the only 3 things you need to do to beat the market. But before we get into all of that, I very much understand that time is a precious commodity, so you might be thinking to yourself, why in the world should you give me the next couple minutes of your life? And well, check this out on the screen right now. My first half of the year review is looking pretty nice. I'm up just over 300%, which means I'm up just under $300,000, and this is just my options account. By the time you count futures, I'm up about double this. So what does this boil down to? Well, it means in the past 6 months, I've made over $500,000, and I'm hoping to even double that up by the end of this year. And to be clear, I am not sharing this to brag. I'm sharing this to explain the fact that so many talking heads on the internet have no clue what they're talking about. They'll tell you how you should trade, but then when you ask them for proof about their success, well, all of a sudden they go real quiet. And I'm also showing you this to understand that I spent many years doing the exact opposite, losing multiple 6 figures, having no idea what I was doing, and in reality, just not finding any consistency. So I went from a person losing a lot of money to now fortunately making a lot of money, and these are the 3 things it boiled down to. Number 1, you have to have a quantifiable edge. Now, when I say a quantifiable edge, the equation is very simple. The percentage of time you're right multiplied by your average win size, and then you take away the percentage of time you're wrong multiplied by your average loss size. If this is a positive number, great, you have positive expectancy. If it's a negative number, you have negative expectancy, and that means you probably shouldn't be trading that system. And when I say trading a system, that's exactly what you should be doing. You should know the exact inputs, as in the exact entry criteria, and then the exact outputs when you pull the ripcord and exit, whether for a win, a loss, whatever it is. I don't care what your system is. Obviously, I want it to be a profitable one, but you have to have a system. So many retail traders are trading with their gut, random things. One day they're trading RSI, the next day the MACD, the next day this breakout, random things that make no sense, and the math does not support it. Folks, keep it simple, stupid. Find a basic strategy and start collecting the data on it, the exact entries and the exact exits. The one way you could really know if you're trading a system, think about it like this. Imagine you explain the system to me, when to get in, when to get out. And then we don't talk for an entire trading day. When we then talk at the end of the trading day, we should have the exact same trades. That's how well defined your system should be. Like I mentioned, it doesn't matter if it's RSI, MACD, EMA crossover, or if you're even reading the sky. It does not matter. You gotta start collecting that data, and then from there, you're gonna have a better idea of what's working and what's not working. Because if you're at this point without collecting any data, then how in the world are you possibly gonna know if you have an edge or if you're just trading with random gut luck? Now, if you're wondering how to find a system to know if you even have an edge, it's easier than ever. Folks, AI makes it comically easy. You can log into your favorite AI and just start talking with it and say, hey, I want to figure out a trading system. and just talk and talk and talk until you find something that's worthwhile to test. And of course, if you really don't want to do that, on this channel alone, there's a lot of trading strategies. Let's say you don't want to talk with AI. Let's say you don't want to listen to any of the strategies that I posted here. Let's say you're already very confident with your own system. As long as it's well defined, that means you can start collecting data. In the next 25 to 50 trades, all you have to do is write down the exact entry, the exact exit, and how it performed. And then all of a sudden, you can plug it into the equation of how often you're right, multiply by your average win size, and then you take away how often you're wrong, multiply by your average loss size, and finally, you're gonna know if you have positive or negative expected return. I know this in a general sense seems pretty simplistic, but you would be surprised to find out how many retail traders have no system whatsoever. They're just ripping it with their gut. And I don't mean to be demeaning them. That was me for many, many years. And guess what? For all of those years, I was losing money. It wasn't until I started really defining my entries and exits that I had any understanding of what was working and what was not working. So in reality, this is me begging you to get a trading system. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad, you gotta start somewhere. And most people are more than willing to start betting in the world's largest casino with no system whatsoever. And that is a perfect recipe to get destroyed. Let's fast forward to the second secret of being a profitable trader. Let's say you already have a system that's proven to be profitable. It's going to be surprising no one at all watching this video to hear the fact that not every trader wins on every single trade. There is no such thing as this perfect holy grail trading system. It does not exist. In fact, the most successful hedge fund of all times, Renaissance Technologies, run by Jim Simons, the mathematician, who made over $100 billion in profit. Do you know how often his hedge fund actually had a winning trade? Just below 51% of the time. As in most of the time, it was a 50-50 flip, and yet even with those odds, they still made $100 billion in profit. If you do any extensive research on the market, you're going to realize that it's normally distributed. Doesn't matter if it's the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15, the 30, the 4 hour, the daily, it doesn't matter. Half the time it's pretty much green, half the time it's pretty much red. The game of trading, and I know many people are not going to want to hear this, is 50-50. But guess what? Even with being a 50-50 game, you can still make a lot of money. It all depends on your average win size and your average loss size. To put that another way, even if you're playing a 50-50 game, but you get paid off more than every single time when you lose, well, guess what? You have positive expected value and you're going to be net ahead. But you're going to take losses. And in fact, the longer you're in this game, you're going to take a lot of losses, which means you need to focus on your sizing. Even if you have a phenomenal trading system with an amazing edge and you bet too much and take a loss, let's say you bet half your account and you're wrong and you lose, guess what? Now you have to make a 100% return just to be break even. And guess what happens if you take a larger hit? If you take a 2/3 hit, well, now you have to make almost 200% just to be back to break even. So even with the best trading strategies, you have to be mindful of your sizing. In fact, I'll be the crazy person who says sizing is actually more important than your actual trading strategy. I promise you this, there is not one long-term successful trader who isn't obsessed, borderline paranoid with the risk management. One mantra I like to say, or really it's just a mental framework with which I approach the market, I like to assume that my current trade is going to be a losing trade and my next trade is going to be an amazing winning trade. What that does for my own brain wiring is it makes me very risk attuned on the first one because I want to stay in the game. I want to participate in this marathon in the world's largest casino for the next one because that could very well be the amazing trade. So let's quickly recap. There's only 3 things you have to do to be a profitable trader. Number 1 is find your edge. Your system needs to have positive expected value, and the equation for that is very simple. Once again, it's how often are you right, multiplied by your average win size, and then you take away how often you're wrong, multiplied by your average loss size. Once you find your trading system, then you have to be very, very paranoid, borderline obsessed about your bet sizing, because you're still gonna take losses, so you never want to overbet. A common rule of thumb here is to never exceed 2% risk to your overall portfolio. I myself am a little bit more of a degenerate, so generally I'll go more about 5%. But when people start to go into double digits, that's when you can get into a lot of trouble. And finally, this brings us to the third thing you have to do to be a profitable trader, and the answer is discipline. you need to have monk-like discipline to follow the first two. And I know that this section is going to be the shortest and it sounds like the most simple, but it's actually the most difficult. As soon as you find your system, as soon as you know what your sizing should be for whatever goes on in all of our little monkey brains here, we start to break those rules. So even though, like I said, it sounds the most simple, the discipline portion to stick to your system and to stick to your risk sizing, that is in fact the most difficult. To be honest, I was never capable of doing it myself. As a manual trader, for whatever reason, I would have these streaks of absurd disciplined trading, and then all of a sudden I would go off the rails one day and blow up my account. The thing I literally had to do, and this is not a joke, I had to get into the world of systematic trading where the robots bought and sold for me, and I just had to code up when I wanted them to buy and when I wanted them to sell. That is how much I had to remove myself from the overall trading process because I simply didn't have the discipline to follow. Fortunately for me, and I did mention this before, AI makes trading easier than it's ever been. All I had to do was talk to AI and say, hey, make a trading system for me that gets in here, gets out there, and robots never deviate. That's the cool thing about automatic systematic trading is they never have discipline issues like many human traders do. So that's pretty much it. Year to date, I'm up about $300,000 in my options account and another $250,000 in my futures account. The only way I was able to get there was from a very long, painful journey, and on that journey, I realized you only need 3 simple sounding, not really simple to execute, but simple sounding things to be a profitable trader. You need to find an edge, you need to never overbet, and you have to find the discipline in yourself, or do what I do and get a system to do it for you, get the bots to do it for you, to follow your system and follow your risk sizing. As soon as you get those 3 things locked in, well, my friend, I'd like to congratulate you because you're most likely a profitable trader. Very quickly before I let you go, if you're watching this and it all sounds good, but you have follow-up questions on how to find a profitable trading system and really the math behind proper sizing, well, that's exactly what we get into the nitty-gritty of in the Goonie Trading Discord, so make sure to check out the pinned comment in the description below. As always, I appreciate your time, I appreciate the good vibes, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.